Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
It's live.
Are you ready?
Live.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
All right, greetings and welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, Minister Samuel.
Hey, welcome back again to Live Talk.
And my brother, Yike Ezekiel.
Peace. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, before we go to anything, we're going to go to our general statement and disclaimer.
General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando.
All right, my dear brothers. First and foremost, how are you doing, Minister?
You're doing great. Here on this July 4th, 2026, having a great morning or early afternoon.
Yes, sir. My dear brother, Yike Ezekiel.
I'm doing magnificent on this day right here.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's a joy to just be alive and breathing the Most High's air right now, this day. I know it's hot outside, so depending on where you are in this, you know what? I think it's hot all over, all over the globe. At least over here on the East Coast, I think they were saying it's in almost close to the hundreds in New York, like 80-something, 90-something degrees. So it's just hot.
Well, it's been a heat wave throughout the whole country.
Right. All right, so family, I hope you're doing just as well as we are. We're just going to give you a rundown of the show today. First, we'll have the minister word of today. Right after that, we'll go to a short commercial break. And then we'll come back with the main topic. Our main topic today is America at 250. What does that mean for Black America? And then we'll come back to another commercial. We may continue on this topic, or we'll see what's on our brother Yike Ezekiel's mind. And then we'll end with a motivational quote or reading from the host. So now with no further ado, Minister, what is the word of today?
All right, our word of today for July 4th, 2026 is going to be independent. Independent can be defined as free from outside control, not depending on another for livelihood or substance, independent, capable of thinking or acting for oneself, showing a desire for freedom. Independent is not influenced or controlled by others in matters of opinion or conduct. It is thinking or acting for oneself. Independent is not subject to another's authority or jurisdiction, not influenced or controlled in any way by other people, events, or things. Some synonyms are autonomous, self-governing, free, self-sufficient, and sovereign. And our quote for the word of the day is, to find yourself, think for yourself. Independent.
All right. Independent. That's a great word for today. Because we're going to be talking about freedom, independence, and what that means to us. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
At NOY Store, we bring culture, style, and wellness all in one place. Explore our collection of cultural apparel designed to inspire and connect. From t-shirts to polos, boldly tell your story. Need guidance on your journey? Check out our books written to inspire and support your spiritual, personal, and community growth. And give your body the care it deserves with our health and wellness products like natural toothpaste, soothing body butters, and more. We're always adding new products to empower your life so you can live with purpose and style. Visit NOYstore.com today, where culture, wellness, and inspiration come together. Shop at NOYstore.com.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm an enrolled agent with Scott & Associates accounting firm. As you can see, we work diligently for our clients, making sure that all of their tax and accounting needs are met. Come take a walk with me.
At Scott & Associates, we pride ourselves in providing exceptional service to our clients. We firmly stand behind all of the work that we do. However, we have also put measures in place to protect our clients should something ever go wrong.
To schedule a tax appointment for your business or personal need, text or call us today at 321-754-1360. And remember, you can always count on Scott.
All right, family. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Live Talk. And today we're talking about, let's make sure I got sound. This family today, I'm doing a little two parts. I'm doing the engineering as well. Yiki Zika, let me know I got sound.
Yes, sir. We can hear you clearly.
Awesome. All right. All right. So, of course, today we're talking about 4th of July. America turned 250 years old today, their independence. But we want to know what that truly means to us, to Black America. And brothers, I was, kind of scrolling a little bit through Instagram, and I came across a sister, I think her name was Ashley something, always talking about Black history. And what she said to me, what I heard her say to me, but she was sharing it with everybody. But one thing she said kind of took out like a sore thumb, because as she was breaking down, history and talking about it, and Black history, and America turned 250 years old. She said, we haven't been free. She said, we've been enslaved longer than we've been freed in this country. Now, unconsciously, that stood out to me, and it resonated. I said, let me rewind that back. What did she just say? She said, we've been enslaved in this country longer than we have been freed. And I thought about it for a second. I said, I wonder, do a lot of people actually know this? Because if you're looking at 1767, when America got their independence, when we helped them, fight for their independence, they was free, but we were still enslaved at that time. In fact, it wasn't until about 90 90 years or 91 years later, 1865, actually 1867, we just celebrated Juneteenth. That's when we was truly free as a nation of people. About 91 years. Fast forward to the day from that time, like 159 years. So for the average person that doing that math, they may say, okay, it seems like we've been free longer than we've been enslaved. Well, let's back up a little bit. Let's back up until, when we was really brought to this country enslaved. So when we look back, the early 1500s, between 1500 and mid 1500s, that's when we truly was brought into the Americas as slaves. So now when you do the math, you're looking at a little over 300 years of us being enslaved and being free only the 159 years. So when I did that math, I said, this sister is on to something. But it was something that most people don't even know today, that we was enslaved longer than we have been freed in this country. So when we talk about freedom, we're talking about something that didn't include us for over 300 years. But almost 100 years after, we helped America gain their independence just for them to put us back into slavery. So I wanted to open up with that because I found that to be enlightening, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will respect that and appreciate that, I would say. So let me ask this. Can Black America celebrate July the 4th the same way as everyone else? Or is this really a holiday, or are we just participating in it? And that's for you brothers. I open it up right now. Should Black America be celebrating the 4th of July the same way everybody else should be?
Well, I would definitely want to answer that right there. Historically, you can look at one of our ancestors, the eloquent orator Frederick Douglass. In 1852, he was asked to give a speech about Independence Day. And he stood up and he asked them, why did y'all invite me here? Because independence, the 4th of July, has nothing to do with Black people because we're enslaved. So during the birth of America, the so-called Black man of America was still enslaved. So while all other ethnicities were celebrating their freedom from the British, the Black people couldn't celebrate because they didn't benefit from that. They didn't get a crumb from that freedom because they were still enslaved. And as you just said, that slavery went on for almost another 90 plus years. So for 90 years, for Black people to be celebrating the 4th of July, the question, like Frederick asks, is why? It's your day, not my day. America gained her independence, but at that time, the independence for the so-called Black man was nowhere to be found in the crafting of the Declaration of Independence. The ideals of all men are created equal was not encompassing the so-called Black man because they didn't see us as a man. They seen us as a race of people that were the equivalent of beasts. Thus, in their independence, they put Blacks are 3, 4, humans. So, and that's still in the Constitution to this day. So if you're only 3/4 of a human, then you couldn't be celebrating your independence. Because again, you were still on a plantation and seen as mere property. You wasn't seen as a man. You were seen as a beast, somebody, a tool to be worked in order to build up the wealth of America, a tool to be put on the front line to throw at the British to save more American, white American lives. So there's no way on the planet that the so-called black man of America should be embracing the 4th of July when it has nothing to do with you. Even to this day, some of the discriminatory practices are still being implemented. So you don't have that liberty. You don't have that freedom that all other ethnicities have in America. We see that because we still got Black Lives Matter type movements. We still see, our people being oppressed when they apply for jobs, when they apply for housing. So you don't have the freedom that somebody fresh off the boat from another country will have. You still have to have voting rights. You still have to have civil rights that you're fighting for, that we've been fighting for since the 50s and 60s. So you don't have that equality that's embedded in the Declaration of Independence. So you don't have that automatic freedom, even though you're physically free to roam from one part of the country to another one. You don't have the mental freedom, the educational freedom. You don't have what makes a nation. So you're not being included in that right there. You're on the outside looking in.
You know what? You brought up some great points, and when it comes to our people, it's almost like if we get a day to celebrate something, we just jump in and celebrate it. Don't even know half the time what it is we're celebrating, especially when we can get some time off, right? Let's let's crank up the pit and let's throw some barbecue on it, So Minister, is this really our holiday, or are we just participating in it?
And see, that's a two-sided question. It's like everything that our brother just brought forward is you got to look at it. Yes, if you're in a job and you get that day off, especially if you get a day off with pay, people jump in and they celebrate it. We will jump in and celebrate it and acknowledge it because of what's being put in front of us. It's Independence Day. People are shooting off fireworks. They're going to barbecue around Independence Day. But for us as a people, we have to look back at our history. And I think that if we are going to accurately celebrate it, we need to be able to acknowledge the reality like it was put, like where were we at the time of this being instituted? So is it truly our independence, or do we look at it from the same point of, if you take it from where the country was in 1776, it was about gaining independence from someone else. So if we really want to celebrate it, we need to be looking at it in the context of, how do we gain our independence? You should be able to be a part of something and still acknowledge that there's a whole lot of this freedom that we don't have. I mean, it was written based on that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Well, if we're going to hold truth to that, then we need to, hold the country to the fire, and we need to hold us to the fire to say, is that true? Is it truly freedom? Like, are we endowed by a creator with the same rights? Well, as our brother has spoken and made it really clear, we know that that is not completely true. We have parts of it. How do we get it fully? Like, it's been 250 years. Have there been progress made? Has there been strides made? Yes. But have we fully instituted it based on the words and its meaning for all people? And if we can look at it from that perspective, we can see, or should see, that there's a whole lot of work that still needs to be.
You said something that resonated with me, because you talked about the Bill of Rights and what it says, and all men are created equal. One of the things, and then Brother Ezekiel said, we was considered, 3/4 of a man, which means we weren't really considered a man. So if we're reading that declaration, that's why they always call us boy and they called us girl, because they was first and foremost degrading us. They weren't even trying to put us on that level of being a man or being a woman. So when we're looking at that or reading that, well, that don't apply to you because you're not considered a man according to our standards of what a man is. And for the most part, that could be right, because you didn't give us, you took away resources from, you took away everything from us that limited us from, growing into being a man and what a man truly means. Which now, like, even when we hear that today, when somebody say boy, if you look at it from that perspective, you like, don't call me boy. And we do this all the time, right? We say, what's up, boy? Like, like it's like a slang, like that's what we do. But when you become conscious of it, now you have to kind of change that, because that's what they programmed us. That's how they programmed us, to be less than a man, to be a boy. So I'm glad, you sharing that, you just kind of brought something out, because we just have to be mindful of the games and the tricks and what they have, put in front of us as something to accept. I think I mentioned on the last program, we was talking about Juneteenth, and we were centering everything around freedom the same way, but we were centering it around the freedom that we felt like was our true freedom or independence. But I said something in the midst of that, what was we free from? What we was free to do. That's what I said. What was we free to do? And we know we didn't have any land that we own. So we wasn't free to possess any land. We know that we didn't have our own names, and we didn't know the name of God. So we wasn't free to exercise that knowledge of who we are. But one of the things that I had to take into consideration that we were free to do, and that was we were free to find our families, to become one with our families again. So a lot of us start looking for our wives that they took away from us, our husbands they took away from us, our children they took away from us. So a lot of times when it comes to these holidays, and even during that time, we embraced that because it was the time that the master was happy, and he gave us a little bit more, and he allowed us to to be free and to celebrate, although it wasn't our independence. But any little time that we can get away from doing this previous work that they was giving us was a time of freedom for us. So looking at it from that standpoint, I can see what some people may say, well, it's family time for me, which oftentimes we know that could be true, but may not be as true. Because like I said, we find anything to celebrate, but not knowing the history behind it to know how to truly celebrate it. So is there any knowledge when it comes to this history of not Juneteenth, but 4th of July, that's not fully told that we need to share today that some people may not know?
The man's thing was what we just said, that during that time we were still enslaved. And during that time when America was born, we were nowhere in their thought process as they was drafting that Declaration of Independence and the ideals of it, the embodiment of the precepts that's inside that. If America could live up to that, then truly she would be the epitome of all countries. Because what is written in that Declaration of Independence is a great set of values, a great set of laws that will exalt any country if applied on a daily basis. So as we're looking at it in this day and age, America has not fulfilled that promissory note to us, the people of color within America. They have not lived up to that. They have not enacted laws and legislation this day that will bring and manifest the fulfillment of those ideals that their founding fathers drafted, that they knew if applied would make America a superpower in every aspect of life. So if we could get together now, and I mean, Congress, legislators, the lawmakers, and begin to implement systems within each aspect of life that will bring those ideals to life, then can people of color begin to celebrate Independence Day, because it will be Independence Day for them also. But as it stands, sadly, it's not.
No, and I agree with that. Because what are you celebrating at that time? Like I mentioned before, like you can't set a people free that you stripped everything from and don't give them nothing, and then create laws that then put them back into slavery. What type of beast does something like that? I mean, it's just immoral to its core. But just bringing it, I really don't want to get away from this topic, but since we hit it so hard, I want to talk about this going a little bit this coming to today, because if freedom is real, it should show up financially too. So let's talk about it a little bit. What does economic freedom looks like in our community right now, considering we are supposed to be free, and we are supposed to have opportunities now? What does that look like right now in our community?
And I think I would say, if we're going to tie it to today, the way I look at it is words more prophetic. Because the words, if you hold the words to their creed and they value, they're good words. However, the implementation is what's lacking. Because in its writing, it says, and I'm not going to get away from my community, but I want to just point out that it says where all men are created equal. The words, the intent that's prophetic. Yet the people who instituted it, and we want to look at it historically, those words were meant for white men only. That's the people who instituted it. That's the way that they interpreted it. That's the way they read it. But if you move it forward, that's supposed to include black men and women, white women as well, because that actually excluded not only black men and black women, it also excluded white women. So to move that forward in our community, it's like we have to realize how it's almost like we're still in a fight for our freedom, because in order to get it, we have to earn it. So in our community, to build a wealth, like, are we surviving or are we thriving? For the most part, I would say we're surviving, and we're now beginning to look on how to thrive. And in order for us to thrive, we have to take those words and make them applicable to us, because we know that the founders who wrote it, it was not intended for us. The words were grand, but they weren't intended for us. But now that we have the opportunity to make them intended for us, that's where now we have to look internally. Because back then they started in a one-room like classroom. They struck out to conquer land and make it their own. As I heard a minister say, right, it's the time now we need to get us some dirt, meaning we need to have some land. Well, in order for us to truly have freedom, we have to be able to earn, or rather own, a part of this land. And for this freedom that we're talking about, we have to own it. Where we unfortunately own the least amount of it, which is part of why we have to continue this struggle, unfortunately, in this fight for freedom.
No, because I mean, we still hear the same old sayings, times are hard, the struggle is real. Man, at one day at a time. These are things that, we hear in our community. I mean, you see somebody you ain't seen them in a long time, and they still in the same, community, in the same place. You may go through the corner the corner store, just kind of perusing through the neighborhood, and you see somebody you ain't seen in 20 years. And that's the type of, verbiage you hear come out of their mouth, so these are the things that we witness today when we talking about our community. Because Dick, you want to chime in on that one?
Yes, sir. In order for us to become economically free, America would have to do like that senator first proposed upon the Emancipation Proclamation implementation, when they said we're going to give them 40 acres of land and a mule. They wanted to give us resources that would allow us to become economically free. And since we never received those resources, and here we are in this day and age, we don't have the necessary tools to become economically free. We got a glimpse of it in the early 1900s when we had created our own Black Wall Street. Those people understood the relevance of clothing, feeding, sheltering yourself, just like all communities do today. So financial freedom for us needs to look like we have our own banks, we have our own wastewater treatment programs, we have our own city council that determines what's best for our communities. You give us the resources that's needed to create a nation. And you can't do that without having finances. So first and foremost, we need land so that we can be able to begin to farm the land. We can harvest the wood off of the land to build different products. So without those tools, then we are going back just like our ancestors did upon immediate freedom. They had to turn back around and hire themselves right back to those same slave owners. And now they got less than what they did when they was a slave, because the masters made sure that you had the provisions needed for you to stay alive so that you could continue to work for him. He didn't have to supply those basic needs anymore as a hired or indentured servant. So now here we are in 2026, we still asking for jobs. We don't have the ability to create jobs for our own communities. So when we go out and we fill out applications and we get a job or we get denied for a job, and then that particular job shuts down for some reason, we back in the unemployment line. So we have enough wealth among us as a people to now begin to pool our resources and create our own communities. There's acres and acres of land all over this country right here to where we pool our resources and we build on it. You see it in some of what they call cults in America. They would pool their resources, buy land, and build their own compounds and be self-sufficient. So we have that money. We have multiple, millionaires in this country, thousandaires, high thousandaires, making over 100,000. So we got the money now. The problem is we don't have the unity mentality to link up with one another and begin to purchase buildings, purchase banks, purchase schools, or educate people to become school teachers, to create our own curriculums and study. Again, we're going to their educational systems. We're going to them for jobs. So we are not independent. We're codependent. We still that baby that has that umbilical cord attached to the mother. And we're still feeding off of it. And it's to such a point now that we're literally killing America because we're becoming too big of a burden for them. And this is why, as you can see with a lot of the government assisted programs, they're either cutting them completely out or they're scaling back on them because they don't have the money to keep funneling to them. So the economic freedom for us will be to take this particular day and use it as a stepping stone to say, well, okay, this is our independence. Let's become independent in every aspect of the world. And let's start pulling our resources to see where we can become economically independent and get out of this survival mode. We didn't got so accustomed to being in the survival mode, we didn't got comfortable there. And we don't want to come out of that right there. But we speak one to another that we want to be in a thriving, flourishing mode. Because I've not met a person that said they didn't want to be rich.
Right.
But they don't want to put the work in that it's going to take to become rich. But they're putting the work in daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly to stay in survival mode. Most people with a job working a minimum of 40 hours a week to stay in survival mode. We don't know how to take that money and invest it. We don't know how to take that money and put it in the bank so it gets compound interest. We lack the knowledge of economics as a people. It's not being taught in the school system. It's not being taught in the homes. Because if I don't know something, I can't pass that on to my children. So financial freedom starts with understanding how finances work, how money works in this country right here. Any fool can spend it. And as we can see, we're the biggest consumers in America. So we know how to spend money. You put money in my hand, I know how to go buy anything that I desire. No problem. But I don't know how to make that money reproduce itself and give birth to more money. So when my check get cut off, where am I left to now? It's like we've been stripped of our creativity to become entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurship has been looked down upon. Even when these young people are graduating from colleges, they're taught to go get a job, not to create a job. You just spent X amount of years in college inculcating information, but it's not teaching you how to be a creator of your own job. So if you getting out with degrees and there's no jobs in the market, you got a degree, you can't even put it to play. Now you working at McDonald's, but you got a degree in engineering. And your thing now is, excuse me, sir, would you like ketchup on that hamburger? And you just spent $40,000 a year to say that? No. So yeah, we got to start understanding how economics works, teach economics in our homes just as fervently as we teach sports. We got all kinds of sports programs year round for our children. It's summertime right now. Children are in boys clubs, they're at youth centers. What are they learning? Is finances a part of that curriculum? Or are they learning how to play dodgeball or run up and down the court or field, as they do all other times of the year? We're not preparing our youth economically like other nations are. And this is why they don't take us serious as a nation when they look at us. Because to be your own nation, you got to have basic things, your own educational system, your own finance system, your own way to feed your people. We don't have that. If America closes Walmart and all these local stores, we don't know how to grow our own foods. We don't know how to clean the water up. So if they shut down these plants right here, we gonna die because we drinking water that's bad. They got all the bacteria in it. So we have to understand that independence is a beautiful thing. Every individual and every community and every nation need to be independent, but it starts with the individual. You have to become independent. So you have to learn these things, and then you can teach it to your household and begin expanding to your communities, towns, and states, until the whole group of people is full of the wisdom of how to be economically free.
Oh, that's said a mouthful, my brother. But just thinking about, what both you brothers said, when it comes to wealth building. Right now we're maintaining, we're getting by. But we bought into this idea of, going to college, or to the point that you were just sharing, that going to college, that's going to give you a career, a better life. What they didn't tell us that going to college, you may not get a job. And now you stuck with a degree that you owe $200,000 on, like you just mentioned. But you're a manager at McDonald's. So it's like, why did we buy into that? W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, they talked about trades, and they had they different viewpoints and how they, how to go about it. But that was something that really engineered our community. Yeah, we built this country with our hands, and we got away from that, and we bought into this system of college. And majority of us right now are in debt because of that. We make up 13% of this population, and maybe 10% of us are in debt because of that, if not all 13%. That's why even we talk about the trades. And matter of fact, we put this plug in there. MOP is having their 3rd annual Trade Vocational Expo Fair, October the 24th. I'm gonna plug that in right now. Definitely come out to that. October the 24th, we're having our 3rd annual Trade Vocational Expo Fair, October the 4th. But that goes all the way back to economics. That's how we engineered our community, through hands-on trades, plumbing, electrical, what else, Samuel? Plumbing, electrical.
Oh, we got carpentry, roofing. It was an array of, you name it, from AC to plumbing, mechanics to electrical to carpentry, roofing. We got engineering, like doing civil. We got septic systems. There's a long list, but like when we talking about it, wealth and what wasn't taught. And if we're talking about the 4th of July, it's real critical, but it's like the words that stick out big says we the people.
Mm.
But what the issue with that is, when we do plug in, if we go plug it back into the system for we the people, that system that we plug it into, like if we go to college and even if we become a statesman, it unfortunately, the system was designed to benefit those that were not us. So even today, we do get some benefits, but we get the trickle down effect, meaning the majority of the wealth and the influence will start with those who are at the top, who don't look like us. And by the time the resources get spread out, we're getting, if any, we get in the minimal of it, if any. Whereas if we learn to look at Independence Day as when we say we the people, we understand it's we the Black people, we the people who came here, ancestors of slaves, need to take an opportunity so we can get it from the beginning. Because if we plug it back into the system, we get the least amount. And that's the reason that laws are being written and changed today, so that even when we get into a position of being a congressman, a senator, a governor, even a president, we the people, meaning the Black people, the system is designed for us to get the least benefit from it, not the most benefit. But if we go in and realize, similar like when Black Wall Street, when we were being independent, because independent means being not dependent on them for our livelihood, we would take those resources and knowledge, those abilities, and put it back into our own community. We're not taught to do that. We're taught to plug it back into the system. And unfortunately, we get the least amount of benefit. It doesn't, that's why the word we picked was independent, because it's supposed to be not influenced or controlled by the opinions or conduct of others. But when it goes through this system, it is. We don't get the first benefit because somebody else is writing the laws, and the laws are meant not to benefit us. A few of us may benefit from it, but the majority of us will not benefit because we're going to get the least amount. We pay percentage wise, we pay a maximum amount of our tax dollars out, but benefit, we get the least benefit from our tax.
No, I mean, that's what you're saying is key, because the word of the day was independence, and we're talking about Independence Day. And we also that's sharing, like from an economic standpoint, how we can become independent. I believe, in my opinion, one of the things that destroyed us, and still destroying us today is, things that they put into our community, like your liquor stores and all these things where that we go to feel better about our situation, which makes it worse. So if I'm working somewhere on a job, working for the man, and he's treating me unfair, or he's talking to me the wrong way, then most likely when I get off, I may go to the liquor store and grab something to drink, come home, take it out on my wife. Now there's domestic violence. So it's just a trickle down effect from what has been, not only taught to us, but have been shown to us over history here in this country, that right now has a lot of us still messed up. So when we're talking about Black dollars and supporting Black businesses, a lot of people can't comprehend that, and they don't want to hear it because they deal with Black folks every day that may have tried to get over on them. They're dealing with the wrong people. So when you're looking at somebody that looks like you, that tried to get over on you or take something from you, you begin to look at everybody a little different that looks like you. Now you shine away from even contributing to them. Like, man, I don't even want to deal with my people because they're always trying to get over. Majority of us believe like that. So we continue, like you said, to contribute to the system because we feel the system is going to benefit us better than we can within our own community, which is sad because of what we've been taught. And that's why we always talk about the importance of therapy, the importance of being able to see. Like I believe, I ain't no talk so much. I'm gonna let your brothers go here in a second. But I believe one of the things coming out of slavery, they should have made sure that we had some therapy. They should have made sure we talked to somebody, because that's a lot. That's a lot on a mother that's having a child that has went through all this cruelty, to her, and the child experiences that at the same time. And like I mentioned in the opening, we're not that far out of slavery. So we still dealing with a lot of this here. We're still dealing with a lot of the discrimination. We still seeing over 50% of us in prison systems that they created to put us back into slavery. We have seen some people try to come in and make some changes there, but they still put the drugs in our community, all the things in our community that keeps us in this cycle. And then what they do, they're hiking up, the time for it. So now, like crack cocaine, going back a little bit, crack cocaine got you more time than powder cocaine. Why? Because powder cocaine was in the white neighborhood, crack cocaine was in the black neighborhood. So everything that dealt with us got us more time and put us behind bars, where it didn't do the same thing for our counterparts.
No, because that system, that system that was in play, that is in place, is designed to benefit one group of people, but it's designed to oppress another group. Just like during slavery, we were given freedom, but as soon as we were given the freedom, Jim Crow laws came to take it away. Like the 40 acres of the mule, some of us were given the 40 acres.
Yeah.
But as soon as another president came in, he changed and took it right back.
Right.
And like when we look at policing, we have to really be honest. Like if we go look at the 4th of July, we have to have honest conversations with ourselves. Like policing in this country, or when now it says to serve and protect, when it came to black people, policing was to collect the slaves and keep black people in. It was meant for the black people who want to try to come together. It was meant to keep us in our place or cause us to commit a crime so they could put us back into slavery legally. Because they say you couldn't have legal slaves, but once you break a law, now we can put you in and make you a slave. Look at all the great rises, like even black, 50 years out of slavery, like right out of slavery, Marcus Garvey had a massive movement, but the system came against him because the system was designed to stop those. You move forward right prior to civil rights. Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, as much benefit as it did in the community, policing came against that system. Even though it was teaching us to be independent, it was gone. And now you look after civil rights in the late 70s, early 80s, Yahweh ben Yahweh and the Nation of Yahweh, as great as a movement as it was, the system and policing comes against anytime we want to be independent. The system comes in because this system of policing is designed to keep us in slavery. So now we have to be fully cognizant that we're working within a system that's designed for us not to be independent. So now we have to be really conscious of maintaining our independence and understanding that when we start to have economic independence, we got to have some political independence so we can stop the policing from coming into our neighborhood. How do we do that? We can actually annex our own neighborhoods and communities where we can police them ourselves. But we have to understand that we have to come together as a people to do that, to be able to protect us, because we can have a city police or county police within our own communities. But then now we know we have to deal with the feds who could still, but we have to have our eyes open and understand that we have to fight for our freedom is not free. See, so we go celebrate July 4th, we have to realize it's not free. We have to earn and be prepared to keep that freedom, because the system as it's designed is designed to come and take it back from us or hold us back from getting it.
And you seen that example with the Black Panther Party, when they was feeding, clothing, protecting the communities. Then the outside forces came in and began to wipe them out, because again, they were on a path that will lead to independence. And when you have a system that's in play that oppresses you, yet benefits simultaneously off of your oppressor, then there's no way they're going to let you out. Because let's take, as you spoke about, the Honorable Marcus Garvey with his Back to Africa movement. If everybody would have got on those ships and went back to Africa, who would have did the manual labor in America?
Exactly.
So they looked at that right there and they realized we can't never let these people go. It's the same concept that Pharaoh had with the children of Israel when he had them doing manual labor. If we let them go, we didn't got so comfortable with benefiting off of that right there. I ain't finna get out in that field. I'm the CEO of the company. I ain't finna do the stuff that the people in the mail room and the lower levels of the company do. I didn't work too hard to get where I'm at. So I'm going to make sure I have stringent rules in place to keep them subjected, but with the idea that they can work their way toward freedom. But they have given us numerous examples that when we begin to walk that path of independence, they're going to have their police, their military, or whoever they need to stop you from continuing down that road and turn you around. So, as you said, you have to become extremely aware that the moment you begin to get economic freedom, the forces of this country are going to descend upon you like a plague.
Because that's how it was made like that by design.
Right.
Like I say, the words are true, but you have individuals who are acting behind it that don't want to hold true to those words.
Right.
All right. We're gonna go to a commercial break, and we'll come right back. We're gonna continue on this topic. That's my brother. He got something for us, but we'll come right back.
Because Scott & Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott & Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zodi toothpaste. Zodi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zodi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zodi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right, brothers. We go family. We still talking about 250 years of independence. America. This is July the 4th. America gained their independence 250 years ago. And we're talking about what that means to Black America. And I want to go a little deeper, brothers. We talking about the history, and we talking about the financial side of things. I want to talk about the mental side of things, because we was denied physical freedom, financial freedom. So do we think that, or do we think we're mentally free as a community?
Unfortunately, we definitely think that we're mentally free. But we don't understand. He who designs the curriculum produces the mindset of the people under that curriculum. You can look at these examples in a karate school. You go to that school and they teach you the step-by-step process of their system to make you into a proficient karate student of that particular discipline. So if you're taking Taekwondo, they have a system in place that would take you from a white belt to a black belt. And if you're following that system right there, then you'll become one of their disciples, one of their students. So if America has crafted the education, the economic, the domestic relationships, and we're under that system, and we're drawing from that system, then that system has a 97-8% chance of cloning itself in us. It's like a baby when it's wrapped inside the placenta and it's extracting the foods, the nourishment, the drinks from the mother. It begins to develop its own system inside of that system. So as it begins to grow throughout the pregnancy, it's still feeding off of a system that's already in existence, which is the mother. And it's reproducing and creating its own individual system so that when it comes forth, it has its own system to be able to live without being attached to the mother. The problem with us, people of color in America, is even though we've been eating off of this system for over 4 centuries, we haven't had the fortitude to begin to create our own system off of it, because we're educated in all fields in 2026. There's not a field you're going to go into you don't have people of color in it. But we're not creating our own independent system. Like they created their Declaration of Independence for them, we're not creating a Declaration of Independence for us that would allow us to be able to say that, hey, man, I'm mentally free. How am I mentally free? Because the ideas, the value system that governs my behavior is not based on somebody that's been oppressing me for 4 centuries. It's based on values that if anybody apply it, they can become mentally free. So we do believe that we're mentally free because of the opportunities, no matter how limited they are in America, have been given to us as opposed to 250 years ago when America was born. We didn't have access to the information that we have now. Remember, it was a crime for us to be reading and writing. Now we walk around with every book on the planet in our pocket, at our fingertips. So yes, we have made leaps forward, but not enough to where we can say we are a nation, because we don't have our own political system, educational system, economic system. The biggest issue we don't have is a domestic system. We don't have a way to learn how to raise our men and raise our young women on how to run a household. We don't have a uniform system for that right now. And this is why the divorce rate is high. This is why the domestic violence rate is high. And this is why a lot of our people are not in relationships, period, because we are not taught what it takes as far as learning the nature of the male and the female and how to coexist with that right there. That stops a lot of the unnecessary drama in the relationships. So now we have broken homes. 60 to 70% of Black America is single mothers. And since she's in survival mode, she don't have the time to sit down and pour into her children the wisdom that's really needed in all of these areas. Because she might be working 2 jobs just to put a roof and food in their belly. So we're free to a small extent. We don't have the freedom that somebody from Cuba, somebody from Uzbekistan or Yugoslavia getting off the boat over here in America have. And it's because we are not creating that for ourselves, even though we have the resources in 2026 to be able to do that right there. And we have examples. You go back, as we said, with the limited means the men in the 1900s had. Marcus R. created schools, created that. As you spoke, the Nation of Islam created schools, created their own systems. The Black Panther Party, the Amir Yahweh Yahweh, these people gave us a blueprint, an example that, hey man, if Black people work together, we can become self-sufficient and independent in every aspect of life. These people created their own educational system. They created books for Black people, by Black people. You can't create a book for me and you ain't never lived in the hood. You don't understand the intricate parts that go into this right here, the mental aspect. And now you got me thinking I don't need therapy, that I got to be crazy to get therapy. But all the while, just the everyday livings under this oppressive system, I need some psychological help. Or as you said, I'm gonna begin to express that in drugs and drinking or in any type of negative behavior because I don't know how to deal with this. So what has become freedom from us is truly not the freedom that a real free man has. When you look at other ethnicities in America that hasn't been here a fraction of the time that we've been living in this country.
That's true. I had a comment come in. We have doctors, lawyers, engineers, scientists, farmers, but we also have cowards who are afraid to live without our enemies. That comes from our YouTube channel, listening in. Thank you, my brothers, for chiming in and listening in to the show. We appreciate your comment. And I think right on point. I mean, we have people that then bought into the system. And the system have given them, you know, the things that most people will enjoy to have. And because of that, they may not speak out, or they may not, you know, say certain things that may be detrimental to the system or to their job, you know, their livelihood. So, you know, they go on like, you know, like it's normal. But I think you alluded to it a little bit, Minister, just being a politician or someone that's in you know, that has high, you know, have the degrees of a knowledge that is necessary to share even with our community, or just be able to open some of those doors that are closed right now. They're not doing it. You know, for whatever reason, they're not doing it. They're just not doing it. And it goes to the point that I think that's being shared right here from the comment, that it's just being cowards about it, or they just, you know, we just living in a capitalist society and they just feel like, you know, hey, everybody else is getting rich off of, you know, the poor Blacks. Why can't I just, you know, do the same thing?
That goes back to your point about the mental mentality, or there's still some mental slavery that's going on, and we have to be fully conscious and aware of it, because the system is in place, like with Jim Crow and Willie Lynch. It's designed to where once it's in place, now I don't have to physically come inside, because I've set up a system that calls you now to work against yourselves. And we suffer from that even when we're not conscious of it. That don't mean we don't suffer from it, and we need to be aware. I use an illustration that everybody can easily identify with. If you look at Django, and it's a beautiful part Samuel L. Jackson played. See, when you put that type of a mentality on us, we become our own worst enemy, and we become an enemy of our people. But we're supposed to be looking out for our people, and we do it, whether we do it consciously or unconsciously. We have to realize that they put certain things in, has been put through us, so we don't trust one another. We refuse to work with one another, and they don't have to necessarily do it directly. They doing it indirectly because now we do it for one another. Like we can, you can all the time. Perfect example. I tried not to support them. We'll go to Walmart and we get horrible treatment.
You're right about that.
But we'll turn around the next day and go right back to Walmart. But if we go to a black business and we get a small amount of mistreatment, don't let it be a large mistreatment. We will never go back and support that. See, that's that mental slavery. That's a real thing. And we say we can't trust them, but we trust the oppressor because we've been programmed through slavery not to trust one another, not to build within our community. Because if we see one of us getting wealthy or one of us getting rich, we feel, why should I support them? But we support Amazon and we get them rich and we get them wealthy and we don't see an issue with it. That's that mental slavery that we have, that we need to be able to break those bonds and realize we haven't been, if we go celebrate 4th of July, we need to understand that we haven't been taught to make wealth come to ourselves.
Right.
All those fireworks that we're buying, I don't know where they're coming from, but we have many millionaires amongst us. I might need to make it personal. We may need to find out what kind of permit do we need to get to sell fireworks, because I hear them going off all throughout my community.
I've been thinking about it, brother.
I'm not making, me personally, no, I'm a businessman, so we may need to think about that.
Right.
Perhaps we need to sell the fireworks because I hear them going off. They start going off. They're not supposed to be doing it. They start going off last night. They're going to be going off tonight. Who's benefiting from those? If we go be independent, we should be making money from that, but we're not. And we don't trust one another because it's been instilled in us not to. That's a mental condition that we need to escape from, and we don't realize that we have it. That's why I use that. Remember how excellent Samuel L. Jackson played that part.
Right.
We suffer from that.
We do. We really do. That's horrible, but that's us. That's us. I mean, we call him what, Uncle Tom, yep, when it happened, but you see that a lot. You know, is like, well, the master done let me in, you ain't coming in, and if anything, we gonna treat you harsh. We need somebody to kick when they're down, and so I'm not trying to let it be me anymore. Yeah. So I rather see you. I rather see you down, and I rather kick you. I was in Ghana when I went to Ghana, and I was talking to some of the Ghanaians there, like Ghanese. Thank you, my brother. Ghanese there, and one of the things that one of the brothers shared was he talked against the Nigerians, Nigeria and the Nigerians. And I was kind of listening, and he may not know that it might come natural. But in my head, I'm like, why are we still doing this? Like, why are we still going through this here? That's the same thing that got us in the condition that we are in right now.
Yes.
All the self-hate amongst ourselves. It's like we should be loving one another, enjoying one another. All nations came against us to see us in this condition. And the thing about it, when we're talking about economics, they came together to decide was we gonna get reparations or not. And they determined all these nations coming together determined that? No.
Nope.
Because it was a law. Wasn't it a law when the Jews was dealt with harshly? That was a law. But they're still getting reparations. Why can't we get the same reparations that the Jews got in Germany? Why can't we get the same reparations? So when I was just thinking about that, I'm like, man, we still dealing with this mindset of being, divisive amongst one another. And it's sad. And I won't say that it'll get us in the same situation, but it'll cause us to still, it'll cause us not to become rulers and rulership if we can't get that under control and change our mindset. Because this all goes back to the mindset. If we can't change our mindset, it's going to be hard for us to become rulers, over anything. So, I mean, it's just a lot that we have to deal with. And I think the mindset is one of the things that, that Marcus Garvey had an issue with, bringing everybody together. You still had somebody that had that poison mindset. You still had people within the Nation of Islam, poison mindset. And of course, we had people within the Nation of Yahweh, poison mindsets. And that's the first thing that we have to address when trying to build or establish anything is the mindset. And if you can see yourself in opposition to your brother, your sister, then you're the problem. And you have to deal with that. And I know we're coming close to the end of this show, but I will, at this time, I'll leave you brothers with the last say so. Starting with you, Brother Ezekiel.
Become independent. Use this day to free yourself mentally, economically, domestically, in every aspect of life. Celebrate that you're on that path now. That's what Black people celebrate on the 4th, that they finna start their journey to true independence.
Right. Understand.
Yes, sir, for sure. I said, we go celebrate 4th of July. Let's find ourselves, find yourself, and think for yourself. That should be your 4th of July.
Indeed. I say what one thing we need to do definitely is move towards real freedom and what that really looks like. And like what you brothers just shared, understand and know your history. Know why you're doing what you're doing and educate those around you, your nieces, nephews, your children, educate them. The more we know about these things, the better we become, conscious, and we'll begin to make those changes that are truly needed in order for us to really grow as a community and as a nation. I say from the host, peace and prosperity, and from Live Talk, we are out.
Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.